Depression, as opposed to competition, forced many smaller automobile manufacturers to close their doors or consolidate with other companies. Resisting union actions and the scarcity of material, the major producers were forced to use brutal business tactics in the face of economic depression. As the depression worsened, auto workers were lauded and lulled by auto company propaganda aimed at reminding them how lucky they were to be working and how their work was contributing to economic recovery. With crops and banks failing, businesses everywhere disappeared or grew smaller in order to survive. With the election of Franklin D. Roosevelt came the New Deal, and things began to change. The first order of business was to try to get people back to work. The National Recovery Plan and all of the different works projects it spawned helped the nation spend itself out of the Depression. Construction on a new federal highway system was started, as well as countless works projects. New dams, parks, buildings began to appear across the country in an attempt to put people back to work.
This man from Cape Girardeau got the job moving the dirt to Richland Hill out here. And they brought about 20 mules up and some wagons that dumped out of the bottom. And it was too heavy a load for, they had a steam shovel started over on the bank on northeast corner of the Kingdom City out there, down back where the old 40 is down past 70. And they took dirt off of that shoulder over and built what they call the Y intersection. It wasn't very big, you know, but it had the four corners in it. It was in a low place there. So they had these wagons that had dump out. They put three mules to them. And my dad rented his brother's farm to him to make a place to keep the mules and feed them and everything, you know. It was my job to pump water to them. There was always one mule on the right-hand side of the tongue and two on the other side. The idea was that when they had those wagons, you know, to get out near the edge of the dirt, to dump the dirt out there, and then let the blade push it over. Most of the dirt was old clay dirt, kind of hard and rough, you know. Then when they didn't have sheep foot rollers in to roll it down. Didn't have anything to settle it. So then they took a blade and put little dams about 6 to 8 inches up on each side of the road, drilled holes in it and poured full of water. The water had stayed there 3 weeks. That settled it. Then they come back and bladed it all in, and it was ready to pave then. They didn't use steel like they use now. They just put good material in there. And the material was hauled by Model T trucks and had single tires on them. And they hauled 1.5 yards of gravel material, dumped it in a mixer. They'd break out the forms in front of the mixer, back into the scoop, lift it up, mix it. Then they'd dump it out the back end on the ground and have finishing machines back there would spread it out and finish it, you know. Then they cover it with burlap and put it material, keep it wet for a couple of days, you know, in hot sun, keep it getting dry too quick. And the pavement lasted longer than some of this new stuff now, you know. Besides this mules that my dad kept for the contractor, he had 4 mules and I had 3 horses. We put our team in to help all summer. We graded the curve down to the end of when it got finished. He got $1 an hour for himself and 4 mules. I got 75 cents for myself and 3 horses, and we worked 10 hours a day. That was our pay.
Although new car sales in America slumped drastically during the Depression, some people were still able to afford the newest and finest automobiles. While most Americans struggled to keep the family car running, auto manufacturers came to rely on their parts and service departments more than their sales departments. With the recovery of America's economy, people's income improved. New cars began to replace older models, and with the new and improved road network, car manufacturers were able to compete for buyers by offering newer innovations, smarter and more sleek designs, and superior engineering.
Well, there's a copy of it in here, 1938 Buick, and C.O. Westlinger in the shoe store had that car. And I was a Boy Scout, and he would take us to St. Louis to the baseball games. So there wasn't anything else in town, or to my knowledge anyway, that would run anywhere near like that car, 1938 Buick, and we went to St. Louis 70 miles an hour. And everything else was 35 and 40, maybe 45 miles an hour. So I really thought that Buick was something else. And there is one of them in here.
I knew nothing but Model Ts myself. But my favorite car right now is a 37 Accord 810. That's my favorite card. Bill happened to give me one for my birthday, my 80th birthday.
FDR's continuing success at the polls and his New Deal recovery plan promised newer roads, better automobile technology, and a bright future for Americans and the automobile. The World's Fair of 1939 showcased cars of the future and what the auto culture of tomorrow would promise. With the rise of fascism in Europe and Asia, the world was facing bigger problems than what color to make the newest car. American optimism turned to apprehension as military aggression began to gobble weaker nations around the world. America had to pause its development of peacetime products, which called on the auto manufacturing industry to produce more military products.
There had been a long dry spell. There weren't any cars built for the general public from late 41 after Pearl Harbor, what was that, December the 7th of 41, and everything went really quick to military production. So the only person that could get a passenger car would be a doctor probably, or somebody with a lot of need that could get a car. So there were hardly no 42s, 43s, 44s, 45s, 46 then. You started getting, when the things settled down, you started getting a few 46s, but most of them were identical to the late 41s that were coming out. Through that period, when there were no cars available, the market for used cars was red hot. I bought a 31 Chevrolet for, I think, $40. Did a little work on it with my own two hands. I painted the wheels red, and I turned around and sold it for $125. Thought I'd made a pile, you know. And that's the way it went. I mean, used cars were really in demand because people weren't turning loose of them because they knew they couldn't get it. They knew they could not get another one. The new cars that came out was the Frasers and the Kaisers, and that was new style. They weren't pretty. They were bulky. They were square, just like Chrysler's building a square car right now. Yeah. They were square. Shouldn't mention it, but the Chrysler is an ugly car today, the new ones. But, and you can avoid that if you want to. That was pretty horrible.
Yeah.
If you had an A sticker, you had three gallons a week, wasn't it?
Yeah, 3 gallons a week.
3 gallons a week. Yeah. Well, so some people didn't really need that 3 gallons, so they'd sell their stick. They'd sell their 3 gallons, you know, pedal it. But if you had a long trip, you had to figure out some other method. For instance, I was in Muncie, Indiana, working, and to come back home for any occasion, you had to run on something other than gasoline. And of course, what we really ran on was, I had a 36 Chevy Coupe, and I ran that thing on what people then called white gas. It was today's unleaded gasoline. That's truly what it was. Had no lead in it, and it would you'd get what they call the pre-ignition knock if you stepped down on one of them. Of course, you could change the timing and kind of get rid of some of that, but you'd also change the pep factor to it. But there was a lot of black market fuel going on.
Most people were able to get extra truck stickers. And I know there's places in St. Louis sold truck stickers for $0.05 a gallon. But I didn't try but a few of them. If you're out of gas, you're out of gas. Yes. And he said, I can't take a truck sticker.
And that sticker, of course, went on the windshield, inside of your windshield on the right side. And the dealer knew how much gas you could get for, yeah.
He'd tear out your stamp. Is a book with stamps, a book with stamps in it. He'd sell you 3 gallons, tear out a stamp.
Yeah.
So you had to wait till the next stamp would due, you know, next month or so.
The Allies now faced 4 long years of World War, forcing America out of its long-held isolationist stance and making it emerge as a superpower. With products that would dominate markets everywhere in the world, automakers were ready to return to car making. However, it would take several years for car makers to get any new car designs to the market. With the coming of the 1950s, America's economy would boom. America's focus was on the family, and ever-improving lifestyles made possible by the ever-growing new technologies. The sky was literally the limit as the race for space and all things futuristic impacted everywhere in American life, including their cars. Even the threat of nuclear war on the horizon would not keep Americans from rekindling their love affair with the automobile. Car companies pioneered the world of television advertising, and cars were the stars.
Be sure you do one more thing.
Drive the 61 Lark.
You have to drive the Lark to believe it.